One of, I think, a universal truth that we kind of all experience with video games is frustration. There are so many games that we just look at and we go, I'm pulling my hair out. This is just infuriating me. One of the games I've been playing recently is Dead Cells. It's one of my all-time favorite games. I've never beaten it because it can be incredibly frustrating. It can be incredibly hard. It can be incredibly what some would consider unfair. But to me, it's part of the challenge. It's part of the appeal. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Square Pegs. I'm Jay, and today we're talking about frustrating games that make you want to pull your hair out, but are worth playing. And we're going to kick things off on the NES with one of my all-time favorite characters.
I mean, of course I gotta start with Mega Man, right? If I'm talking about games that are frustrating, you gotta go all the way back to where the Blue Bomber began, and that is with the original Mega Man 1. A game I did not beat for nearly 25 years. This was one that, it might be less than 25, math is hard. I ended up playing this and beating it on the Mega Man Legacy Collection. Not the Legacy Collection, the Mega Man Anniversary Collection on the GameCube. I was working on Fight Night Round 2 at the time, and we were in the process of submitting the game, and at that point there's not a whole lot for the QA lead to do. You're just kind of there to fill out paperwork and stuff like that. So during our 100-man-hour test, I played through the first Mega Man game, and I beat it for the first time in my life, and the only time in my life, I may add. And while the game is frustrating, and it's difficult, and it's incredibly challenging, and they did a lot of quality of life changes with the subsequent games in the series, I still think it's worth playing because it is where the character began. And while there are some major differences in that first game to games that were continued in the series, it's still fun, and it's still an excellent challenge that, yes, it can be frustrating, but it's worthwhile. This game right here, Ninja Gaiden on the original NES, is my white whale to defeat because I've never done it. It's one that I set out a personal challenge to beat, and I have fallen short every single time I've done it. And as much as that would typically dissuade me from continuing to play it, it is one that, for me, makes it worthwhile because the game is just so masterfully crafted. It is such a phenomenal title that has great mechanics, a great design overall, whether it's the characters and the enemies or the weapons or the level layouts, things like that. Everything in this game works. It's just done in such a way that it is almost mind-numbingly hard at times. And for me in particular, it's one that I just have this mental block that I cannot get past it, and I don't know why. Because I have beaten many, many video games in my life, but this one just continues to elude me. And it's one that I will continue to try to beat. And I am not one that is subscribing to the fact that you can't use things like save states and things like that, which is why I'm playing it through currently on the Switch Online service, because I can rewind and I can pause and I can save. As long as I beat it, that's good enough for me. I ain't gonna, enter a speedrun competition or anything like that. I just want to beat the game. I want to see the ending with my own eyes. It's frustrating, but it's fun. What do you think about this one? Do you think this or the third game in the series is more difficult? Let me know in the comments. I think if I had done this video 3 years ago, this game probably wouldn't be on the list because I've experienced a bit of a renaissance with Battletoads, at least mentally, because when I played this game when I was a kid, it just pissed me off to the nth degree and I didn't want to play it ever again. And it wasn't until I got the Rare Replay game on my Xbox One that I decided to dive back into it, and I appreciate it a lot more now. I can see kind of the masterclass that is a Rare video game in its DNA and the way it's built, and knowing that, I think I'm a little bit more forgiving of it than I was when I was a kid. It's still an incredibly difficult game. It's still incredibly frustrating, and it is a game that leans into being unfair at times, but I think it's forgiven because it's quality at the end of the day. The graphics in the game are wonderful. The music is fantastic. If you can maintain your composure, the gameplay is spectacular as well, but it preys on your frustration. And when you get frustrated, that's when you start making mistakes. And mistakes are things that just cascade in Battletoads. I think Zelda II: The Adventure of Link gets onto this list mainly because of the fact that it's such a different beast of a game than any other game in the Zelda franchise. And it is actually my favorite of the 8-bit Zelda titles. But I can definitely see why people find it frustrating because there's no guidance in the game whatsoever. It is a crapshoot as to what you're supposed to do or where you're supposed to go. There are hints and things like that, but they're very limited in the messaging to actually tell you what exactly you need to do. And the gameplay mechanic can be a little tough too. Hitboxes are unfair, the movement can be a little bit icy and glidey, and that's kind of crappy, and there's certain things in the game that just kind of suck, frankly. Like the dark levels where you have to go through the dark caves and avoid the pits when you can't see anything to get to the second castle, or is that the first castle in the desert? I don't remember, it's been a while since I've played it, but it can definitely be frustrating, and that is directly related to the way that the game was designed. It isn't something where it's just a mechanic kind of throws you off. These were conscious decisions by the developers that make this game frustrating. And while it can get under my skin, and it isn't one I go back and play terribly often, I actually do play the original Zelda more often than I play this one, just because I find it to be more user-friendly and more approachable at the end of the day. I do still love it, and I do still really enjoy Zelda II: The Adventure of Link. What are your thoughts on Link's first sequel in video games? Fans of the channel that have been here for a while will know that my opinion of Contra isn't as glowing as most people's opinion of Contra, and it's not because I think it's a bad game, it's because it is a very difficult game, and it's one that the way that the game is just laid out, it isn't meant for the average person to beat. Now, I'm not talking about you guys that have the game memorized down to the perfect muscle twitch for every single character on screen that you're going to encounter. I'm talking about people like me that suck at the game, that are going to be frustrated with it, that it requires the Konami code to be able to get through. I've only beaten Contra like 3 times in my life, and it had to have extra lives for me to be able to do it. That said, it's still an incredible title. Like, the stuff that knocks it down for me are not things that I would typically knock down a game for in other circumstances. It's stuff where I find the game to be incredibly difficult, and that makes it less fun for me. But when I look at the way that the game is designed, and the levels, and the weapons, and things like that, these are like landmark touchstone things that are seen to this day in run-and-gun video games. These are things we're still experiencing in modern video games to this day, and I think that's pretty amazing. And we owe that all to Contra. A lot of the games on this list are on here because I think they're kind of endemic of what video games have become since they released. These are things that are really representative of where the industry traveled to, and this one does not fit that bill. This is a weird one. This is an outlier, and it's one that is weird on so many levels. Like, it's not even just because it's not something that we have seen future iterations of, because it is a licensed game, and it's a licensed game based on an advertising property for Domino's Pizza from the late 80s and early 90s in the Noid. This is Yo Noid. You saw the title card, you know that, but it's such a difficult game, and it's such a frustrating title, but I can't help but be charmed by this game. It is just one that I love. And everyone I know that has played it also loves it, and we don't know why. Because it is so goddamn difficult. It's one that I think if this was any less charming, like if this wasn't something that was deeply seated and deeply tied into this, like, this advertising icon of our youth, we probably wouldn't give this a second chance. But because the Noid is in it, we're drawn to it, and we want to play it. And because of that, I think it's worth going to, especially for people that are my age, because this is a part of our youth. It was a part of our culture. It was something we grew up with. One of the finest soundtracks ever recorded on the NES is Batman. I adore everything about this game's sound. I think it is just a remarkable piece of music that is just laid over every single level, every single cutscene. Everything about this title just sounds amazing. Even the sound effects are great. Like, it just works. And it takes Tim Burton's version of Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman with the Jack Nicholson Joker, and it took that and did its own take on that and made something that's an incredibly creative NES game. And it's amazing. It's hard as hell, but it's amazing. And this is one that took me a very, very long time to finally beat. And it's one that I've only beaten a couple of times in my life, but I really do love it because it's such an escalating challenge. Like, the game is designed in such a logical way that it kind of ramps up the difficulty as you go, which is what you would hope for in most video game designs. But sometimes they just slap you in the face and kick you out the door and say, no, go die. But this one actually kind of takes it easy on you a little bit. It's still a very hard game, but as you play and as you go through, it's going to ramp things up just a bit more, just a bit more, just a bit more, until you get to the end of the game where it's incredibly hard. And that frustration is evident as you play, but it is so worth it, if for no other reason than to hear all the incredible music. But the level designs, the character animations, the look of the game is just, It's perfect. It is one of the best NES games ever made, as far as I'm concerned. I'm putting Castlevania II Simon's Quest on here in fear that most people are probably going to skip this, because I know a lot of people don't like this game, but because it strays so far from the original Castlevania and subsequent Castlevanias in the franchise. But for me, I really liked this one. This was my personal favorite NES Castlevania until I played Castlevania 3 years later. I didn't actually play Castlevania 3 until I was in my 20s. And it's one that, for me, I love the concept of it. I love that they took Castlevania and turned it into a quasi-RPG. I love the day-night cycle. I like that there's difficulty increases at night, where the monsters are more hard to kill. I like all of the things that the game adds, but the frustration comes into play because it's just so goddamn obscure. And it's so esoteric in the way it tries to describe to you what you need to do. Like, it's clever for the sake of being clever. And man, screw that. Just give me a sign, man. Tell me what I need to do. And when you finally beat this game, which I have done with the help of strategy guides and game facts and things like that, it's an incredibly rewarding feeling to beat. But just going through it with the keys in the game, you want to slap somebody. I love this game, but the design of it can be awful in places. Gradius, or however you pronounce it, gets on this list for as a kind of placeholder. And it is on here because I do find it to be an incredibly frustrating game. I think it's very difficult. It's a brilliantly designed shmup. But it is on here for the sake of the fact that it represents every single shmup pretty much ever made. I want so badly to be good at a shmup. This is like one of my favorite genres of games, and I am terrible at every single one of them. It is like letting your little brother play a game with you by having the controller unplugged. I would be more successful doing that than I am actively trying to beat a level. I am so bad at shmups. I am just horrible at them. I cannot process things fast enough on the screen to be able to be successful at them, and I want to be better. And it frustrates the hell out of me because I do want to be better at them. I do want to get good at them, but I have a mental block. It's kind of like what happened with Ninja Gaiden. I can't get there for some reason, and it just frustrates me. How do you feel about shmups, especially like 8-bit, 16-bit shmups that are like incredibly difficult, known to be very hard? Are there ones that you think are significantly more forgiving that people should play? Let me know in the comments. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, or Standard Punch-Out, whichever one you want to go with. I think most of us have experienced the frustration of this game, where we are able to kind of start cruising through the game and finding a rhythm and finding a cadence, because this is a rhythm game. Despite what people will tell you it's a boxing tale. It is not. It is a rhythm game. But there are certain points where your rhythm will be thrown just a smidge, just a touch, and you're gone at that point. You've lost the fight. You're done. You're not coming back from it. And it can be incredibly frustrating because you think you're on your timing, you think you're on your rhythm, you think you've got your cadence down, and you're just not there. And it can be incredibly difficult, and it can be incredibly hard. Like, we all know Tyson's difficult. That's expected. That's understood. But man, there have been times where I cannot get the cadence to get through Bald Bull, where I can't quite get the bull charge right, and I'm taken out. And it just, I know I can do it. I've done it a million times in the past, but there are days where it does not work. But the game sure does, man. This is one of the best games on the NES. I absolutely love Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. I think it is a signature sports experience on the NES that everyone needs to play, and I'm sure everyone has at this point. Like, I'm saying that like it's some kind of like mysterious hidden game that no one's ever heard of, but everyone's played Punch-Out, let's be honest. But I love it still. Even though it frustrates the hell out of me at times, I still love it.
10 frustrating games that are still worth playing to this day, even though they want to make you pull your hair out, even though they make you want to go crazy. They are fantastic games that I think are fun, are engaging, are exciting, and even though the frustration's there, they're excellent. Let me know in the comments down below your favorite frustrating games that you feel are just 100% worthy of playing. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up. Engagement helps the channel out. Click subscribe if you're new around here. I'd love to have you stick around. And until next time, remember to play more games, stay square, and take care. I'll talk to you soon.